What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of BookTube. I'm your host, Mr. Ahamad. Thank you so much for coming back to my classroom. It's always a pleasure to have you come here and listen to me talk about books. Now, today, I have a very special guest. I know I've been doing it a lot with my own lately, but she's been reading so much. I'm talking about her like she's not here, but she's right next to me.
Hi, I'm Deb.
And Deb has read one of my favorite books this year. What is it?
Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds.
Now here's the thing, I've been reading a lot of Jason Reynolds' work as of late. I've done Ghost, I'm currently reading Patina, I've read Long Way Down, I've done Miles Morales. I listened to all his interviews, and I have to say he is the first author that I actually went out of my way to grab more of his books to read because I wanted to see what his style specifically was like. And what's so interesting about Long Way Down is that it's kind of out of his style because it's a poem, right? It's a poem?
Yeah.
Wait, flip through, open it, show the camera. What's it look like? Yeah, bunch of poems, bunch of stanzas written in verse. So strange. Okay, now, one of my favorites. I want to talk about it. Deb, you read it? You want to talk about it? Last time I had you on, we did Mario Kart. Guess what we're doing this time?
Mario Kart.
Let's do it!
That is messed up.
For the win! For the win!
Nope, I'm a sore loser.
Rainbow Road, you picked it.
I also lost it.
Oh yeah, you sure did. I mean, I don't normally talk smack, but I also normally, I'm not toasting people like that. But I mean, today.
I see how it is.
I'm messing with you. So, I'm gonna talk about Long Way Down first. And for me, woo! Let me start off by telling you the rules. Oh my God. The Rules is a poem in this book where they lay out the law of the land for if you live in the hood. If you are a person of color, you live in the hood, there are certain rules that you have to follow. Now, what makes me so sad is that you may not want to follow these rules. You may not want to be part of them. You don't want to adhere to them. But guess what? If the world around you is telling you that that's how you have to live, it forces you to be in a position where you might just end up doing it. And some people don't have the mental capacity or the knowledge or the foresight, different than insight, or the foresight to choose something other than what the rules are. Man, I'm so glad he wrote this book. If I had this book when I was younger, not that I was a violent child, but I would have understood what I was going through more. If people that I knew had this book, back then it could have really changed a lot of lives. What are your first impressions?
I thought it was a good book, mostly because I like poems a whole lot better than reading an actual book with like hundreds of pages, and it's like endless sometimes, and it gets boring and like it dawdles on about one topic. But with poetry, it's different because you can go through it super fast and understand it and take everything in at a higher speed, and it's a whole lot easier to read because it switches subjects so many different times.
Right, and actually in an interview what Jason Reynolds said is that
why, when it comes to young people who don't like reading, who feel intimidated by literature, do we answer that cry with an onslaught of the very thing they fear? Why do we show up with a pack of pit bulls in the form of pages and expect them to stop running away? Perhaps they haven't found the right style of book, because sometimes it isn't about subject matter or voice or point of view. Sometimes it's about the most obvious thing, the words on the page. For some kids, those words, the amount of words, is equivalent to a starving dog. So why not start with the less threatening palm-sized pup in the window? In this case, poetry.
But that doesn't mean you're not going to get something out of it, right? You can say more with less, which Jason Reynolds does so masterfully. He does it well here, so well. So this follows a character who has lost his brother, and that's no spoiler because it's on the cover. He loses his brother to gun violence, and he goes out for revenge. And on his way out for revenge, he has to take the elevator
A long way down.
right, hence the title of the book. And he's going through and experiencing, how did he and everyone he's tied to come to that point. And let me tell you, it is sad.
I mean, it's uplifting at some points, mostly in the end, but
Oh yeah. But it's ambiguous in the end.
true.
You don't know what he chose,
Yeah.
right? And the part, what was crazy? The part when he meets his dad
Yep.
and his uncle, and they're like, "Oh, you think you bad? Do it right now. Do it. Like, you think you bad?"
And at some points he's so scared and he's like, what do you want me to do? I'm sitting here, I'm listening, I'm taking all this information in that you're saying. And they're still like, not so much bashing on him, but also almost
They were
making
bashing
him,
on him.
also almost making him feel bad for even thinking about it.
Right.
Just because it took so many of their lives.
So this ties into something that Dinesh Smith wrote. There's a poem that Dinesh wrote where it says something about like, my uncles are fighting a war that they inherited, that they never wanted, that came with blackness. So that thing gets passed down. And I think what so many people forget, especially adults who work with kids, is that behaviors are modeled. If, kids, teens, if they see something, they think that that's right, that that's normal, if they see it enough times. So something like violence, especially gang violence, it should not be normal. It should not be right. But because it's been done so much, because that's what they're seeing, that's what they think they have to do. And it's this inheritance that people don't get to communicate that you shouldn't do it, because guess what? The only way out is like in a grave or behind bars. So no one gets to relay that message ever to the kids. They just follow suit. Oh! What do you know about Nipsey Hussle?
A whole lot.
You do? Really?
Yeah.
I want to do 2 weeks on him next year. So I've been having this debate with so the thing about Nipsey is at the end of his life, based on my research, correct me if I'm wrong, like he was still a Crip, but he wasn't out gangbanging anymore.
Yeah, and he had friends who were Bloods, but I mean, at the end of the day, he was still a Crip.
Right, yeah, exactly. So he caught on, he peeped game. He caught on. I'm trying to use the most slang I know. So he caught on, and what he was saying, he was like, you see that Hot 97 interview he did with E-Row in the morning, where he talks about like being a gang member and going into someone else's hood.
And I'm gonna be honest and speak blunt. I'm like, you know what, man? As a gangbanger, right? When you go on a mission, you might, when you looking for your so-called enemy, you driving through a different hood down the street. You know, it's an invisible line. You cross this street, now you in another hood, and you hunting. And when you looking, you gonna pass up the dude that's dressed square, right? You gonna pass up a dude from a different race. When you see somebody that's dressed like you dress, and got the walk like you got, and got the body language like you gonna say, there you go, get him. And that's deep.
Whew.
You know what I'm saying? When you really unpack that.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? You looking for yourself just on the other side of town. And you gonna hop out and attack him and try to down him in a real way. And being caught up in gangbanging culture, you don't think that deep.
That's what you're taught. That's what you have to do. That's what they expect, right? And it took him most of his life to learn that that wasn't the thing that he should be doing, And it was sad, because he could have done so much more for people, had it not come down to what happened to him, to that nonsense.
Not saying that he didn't do anything for people, because he did so much.
Oh, he did. Yeah,
he did
right,
so
right.
much for the hood. He did so much for the places where he grew up, and he wasn't like those people that got out and never came back, and like the people that like their fame went to their head and they forgot where they came from.
Right.
He never did.
So and he stayed there. He gave into the economy. He got people started. People who came out of jail who couldn't get jobs, he got them with jobs. And I just think I think at the end, like, in order to really make change, you got to go through something if you're going to reach somebody. And I think he went through a lot, and I think he tried to use it in a way that can help others.
You have to be able to relate to them, otherwise they're just going to think you're talking about something you don't know about, and then they're going to be like, well, you don't know anything, so why would I listen to you?
What I love so much, show the cover real quick. What I love so much about what Jason Reynolds does in this book, okay, I just wanted to see it, is that he is using his experiences to do the same thing that Nipsey Hussle did. He lived in a certain area, he knew certain people, and he took all of that and captured it and used his skills, his talents to share that information. Now, what I think people should remember and what they need to know is that, yes, gang violence, gang culture is a thing. Should it exist? No, it shouldn't, but something happened that forced that situation to happen. Now, there are kids who are growing up in it who are going through those experiences, and they're taught that that's what's right, or that's what they have to do. This exists, and you can't pretend that it doesn't. If you're gonna reach them, you have to meet them where they are, is what I think.
Yeah.
Right. I'm out here pleading to the camera, to whoever's on the other side. Now, that doesn't mean, like, you know, to each their own. Some people need different things. Feel me? So, like, but this book, I feel like it does so much because it goes through that psyche. The kid at one point, the character doesn't want to do it. He's like, I don't want to, but I should. It's
kind of like he has to just because of the rules and everything he's been taught growing up.
Let me see. Because now we got to talk about the rules. We can't just, first of all, let's talk about beef, right? You want to read that?
Beef gets passed down like name brand t-shirts around here. Always too big, never ironed out. Gets inherited like a trunk of fool's gold or a treasure map leading to nowhere. Came knocking on my brother's life. Kicked the damn door down and took everything except his gold chain.
Oh! I feel so many ways about that. And the best way to describe it is boys in the hood. Okay, keep going.
And then the rules. Number 1, crying. Don't. No matter what, don't. Number 2, snitching. Don't. No matter what, don't. Number 3, revenge. If someone you love gets killed, find the person who killed them and kill them. The invention of the rules ain't come from my brother, his friends, my dad, my uncle, the guys outside, the hustlers and the shooters, and definitely not from me. Another thing about the rules, they weren't meant to be broken. They were meant for the broken to follow.
Oh!
Pack a punch.
They weren't meant to be broken. They were meant for the broken to be followed. What we call that is a cycle, right? Same thing when I had another student on here and we were talking about fist, stick, knife, gun. Violence is a cycle. It's a modeling that needs to be broken. But you have to give these kids the vocabulary to do so, because the only thing that some of them know is violence, the fisticuffs. Also, just don't fight, right? Use your words. You would come to notice that if you sat down and spoke to someone like this character does in this book, is that you have no reason to fight to begin with. Squash it, right? And the way I feel, man, you know, it's so crazy. I mean, this is particular to where we live, and this is like first lesson day 1 when it comes to African American lit next year, because everyone's got to leave their beef outside the classroom. There are so few students of color at the school. You can't. Why are you fighting each other? If anything, y'all should be sticking together.
Band together and not fight.
Right.
Figure it out.
And that's not. And look. That's not a thing of saying you versus them, like you versus other, like white people or whatever. It's not that at all. But when you act that way against people who look like you, then that gives those kids or those teachers or whoever the license to make these outlandish comments about you, because that's what you show. When you fight amongst yourselves, what that does is
When you fight amongst yourselves, it gives the people the ammunition that they need to give you outlandish comments, and it kind of screws you over in the long run.
Look, I was so heated I couldn't say it, but Deb did. And that's right. You right. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Oh, this book. I mean, the paired text that I could make with it, with Boys in the Hood, with Juice, with reading it along with, I can't think of anything else. But there's some serious stuff there, man. This book, whew. Deb, should people read it?
Yes, they really should. It's amazing. It's an amazing book.
You gotta show them the cover so they know. Long Way Down by Jason Reynolds. definitely a book worth sharing. It's a story worth sharing. You gotta read it. Go. It's gonna take you like 2 hours.
That's true.
Jason
As long
Reynolds.
as you keep reading.
As long as you keep reading, yeah, don't break in between. Jason Reynolds, you the man.